A mass evacuation has been announced in Donetsk and Zaporozhie region, but the real reason might be potentially surprising and definitely much better from what you think. Russia is relocating the majority of its forces to the south, and it does look their final and desperate attempt to keep it. But more about this in a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Let's talk really quick about the most recent combat actions in the east. First of all, we have this video where we can see that Ukrainians were able to destroy the military warehouse in Russians in Alchevsk. Our next video comes to us from Donetsk, and as you can see, there was a series of explosions during last couple of nights. During last couple of days, Ukrainian army was able to take a little bit of its land to the west of Berestove. But pretty much the next day, Russians were able to advance next to Pokrovsk. And if we go a little bit more to the south, we can see that Russia contested a little bit more territory to the west of Svetlodarsk. And as you can see, all of these advancements of Russians in the past is definitely the result of them trying to capture the city of Bakhmut. Some other reports also claim that this big group of Russian soldiers who are currently located next to Izum now started walking to the south to the city of Slavyansk. And right before I start talking about the mandatory evacuation from Donetsk, here is the video of Russian military vehicles which are reportedly driving to Zaporozhie region. This video will be extremely important for my future explanation of Russian relocation of their forces, so for now just keep this in mind. But right now, several words about this mandatory evacuation which has been announced by the Vice Prime Minister Irina Vereschsuk. According to her, the main reason for this evacuation it is because the infrastructure inside the city is severely damaged, and those who do not want to move away have to sign a legal form stating their refusal. The same evacuation announcement has been made in Zaporozhie region by its representative Alexander Starokh. But anyways, just thinking about this and taking into consideration the majority of previous events, it is in my personal opinion that the reason for this evacuation might be different. What I personally think that the reason for this evacuation is that Ukrainian army is coming to liberate the east. And obviously they don't want civilians to be in this area so that they can avoid unnecessary casualties. And the reason why I think Ukraine might start counteroffensive in the east is the following. First of all, we can most certainly see that the advancement of Russians in the east slowed down significantly. And at the same time, we can see Ukrainian army taking back some territories. What makes it even more complicated for Russia in the future is that they recently announced that they'll be relocating some of its forces from the east to the south. And there is only one logical thing that can happen after. Imagine this, right now with the amount of forces that Russia has, it can barely advance. But guess what will happen if the number of these forces decreases? And that's why I personally think that this mandatory evacuation is basically a subtle hint from the Ukrainian army is that they are going to take these territories back very soon. And before we talk about Ukrainian army destroying yet another bridge in the south, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you like this style of daily updating. Alright, so the bridge I was talking about is this railroad bridge next to Antonovsky Bridge. On this map, this bridge is represented as this white line, and as you can see from this video, one of the railroad tracks is completely destroyed. And most likely, in response to many bridges being destroyed in the south, in this video we can see Russian military vehicles being transported from Crimean Peninsula to Kherson region. And if you pay close attention to this video, you can see that the majority of these military vehicles are basically engineering type of vehicles, which most likely will be used in reconstruction of the bridges or assembling temporary bridges. In several seconds I'll be talking about the relocation and concentration of Russian forces in the south, which by the way does look like their final and maybe even desperate attempt to keep it. But first of all, here are some most recent combat footage from the same region. First of all, here we can see another military warehouse of Russians being destroyed in Novokakhovka. In addition to that, in this picture you can see the consequences consequences of the artillery attacks of Ukrainians against Russian military headquarters in Brylivka. If we go a little bit to the northeast, to the city of Enerhodar, here we can see Ukrainians destroying another military warehouse of Russians. It has also been reported that in addition to that, several military vehicles were also destroyed. Most of these successful attacks were possible thanks to HIMARS systems. And as you can see right here, according to the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov, Ukraine has already received 4 additional HIMARS from the US. It has also been reported that Ukrainian army was able to attack the airport in Melitopol. And as a result of this attack, several Russian planes were damaged. In revenge for all this, Russians were shelling Nikopol. And unfortunately, as a result of these attacks, residential buildings were partially destroyed. In addition to that, Russians were shelling Mykolaiv. And unfortunately, as a result of this attack, a Ukrainian oligarch Alexei Vodotursky and his wife have been killed. He made his fortune in agriculture and specifically in trade of grains, and the timing of his death is pretty suspicious. Because today, the very first ship with Ukrainian grains has left Odessa port. The ship is transporting corn to Lebanon, and not that long time ago, Russians attacked Odessa region with 2 Iskander missiles, which most likely came from Crimean Peninsula. What it looks like is that Russia obviously does not want to directly attack this ship, but they do want to have the final word in this conflict. Alright, now as promised, let's talk about the relocation of Russian forces to the south. According to the advisor to the President of Ukraine, Alexei Arestovich, Russia has brought approximately 30 battalions, and the majority of them are concentrated in the south of Kherson and approximately next to Melitopol. Each battalion contains somewhere approximately 300 people. So the number of Russian soldiers we're talking about here right now is close to 10,000. Now is the time when I also ask you to remember this video where Russians were relocating its military vehicles from Mariupol closer to Zaporozhie region. And according to the intelligence data presented to us by Alexei Arestovich, the counteroffensive of Russians in the south will begin somewhere in August 6th. The Kherson battalion will be responsible at retaking back Mykolaiv, and Melitopol battalion will be responsible at taking back Zaporozhie. And if you don't want to miss the beginning of potentially last and desperate counterattack of Russians in the south, please consider joining my Discord. In addition to that, we as a community constantly donate money to Ukraine at the end of each month. And if you want to be a part of this group donation, please consider checking my Patreon. All the links can be found down below. Alright, before we talk about everyone's favorite ridiculous Russian propaganda, here are some most recent events from Kharkov region. For the last couple of days, unfortunately, Kharkov has been under constant attacks from Belgorod. The city and its neighboring territories has been shelled day and night. And unfortunately, as a result of this attack, an educational facility has been partially destroyed. And now, if you've been paying attention all the way until now, here's a small surprise for you. Over this weekend, Russia claimed that Ukraine attacked the headquarters of Russian Black Sea Navy in Sevastopol. As you can see from this picture, which is basically a dozen fallen leaves on the ground, this is how the attack against the headquarters looks like, which immediately brings the assumption that most likely it was the Russians who attacked themselves just so they can blame Ukraine. Ukrainians obviously immediately denied all the allegations. But even if Russians continue to push their narrative that no, these were Ukrainians who attacked us, then I got one thing to tell them. Well, your defense kinda sucks. Welcome to another episode of Ridiculous Russian Propaganda. And today we have this video of a guy just peacefully walking in his capitalistic American clothes, all the way until he meets this battalion of Battle Babushkas. These babushkas were like, look at him, he's Antichrist, we need to denazify his clothes. So they basically proceed and tear apart his demonic outfit, and now he thankfully looks like a proper Slavic person. His new t-shirt says, "Thanks God we live in Russia and not in America," which is kinda ironic because this type of video is filmed in Russia. If you stayed all the way until this part of the video, you're a true hero. And if you don't want Battle Babushkas to denazify your wardrobe, please consider becoming my channel member. Thank you so much for your attention, check the links down below, stay safe and see you tomorrow.